Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel, author Dina Rabati. As I said in my previous video, I wanted a chance to share excerpts from my short story collection, Peter's Moonlight Photography and Other Stories. So I'm going to be reading from The Spanish Dancer today. I will be reading an excerpt, so here we go. The Spanish Dancer. It might have been a party. Oh, I forgot my glasses, sorry. I'm not used to wearing glasses, but I've had to start wearing them in the past year when I'm reading. So anyway, let me start over. The Spanish Dancer. It might have been a party from the sound of the conversation. Ken from cardiology is describing the full frontal nudity scene in Fight Club. Paula from pharmacy is punching Ken in the arm. Steve from nursing is telling Patty about an amazing Indian restaurant that just opened downtown. Eleanor from neurology is recounting an unsuccessful first date, and Rosalind, a third-year resident, stands in the back and watches it all. Like the other physicians, nurses, nursing personnel, technologists, and aides, Rosalinda is waiting here in the emergency room of Grand Rapids County Hospital for the near-fatal drowning victim to arrive. They had been paged a few minutes ago and had rushed down from their respective units to help. While the others continue to talk, Rosalinda thinks about the old Turkish woman who had been in her care yesterday. Despite being blind, she had continued to look at Rosalinda as if she could see. Perhaps, Rosalinda thought, she was one of those people who could read the color of people's aura. She had told Rosalinda that she used to be able to read fortunes in leftover Turkish coffee grounds, the thick black residue in the ceramic cups, painted heartbreaks and babies, freezing fogs and lentil crops. Rosalinda had wanted to paint the old woman, paint those soul-seeking, color-soaked eyes. She would have done them in violet and chocolate brown. She almost said so to the attending physician, but held back. The few times she had shared her thoughts with her colleagues, they had changed the subject or just stared at her before turning around. And painting was something she had done a long time ago. Pale pink lights beam down on the limp, wet little girl as physicians and nurses lift her from the stretcher onto the emergency room table, stabilizing her neck and back. The crowd quiets as the attending physician summarizes. 9-year-old female submerged for over 20 minutes in Ladybug Lake of Land Between the Lakes. Father pulled her out and attempted basic life support. Paramedics continued CPR in the ambulance. Oral tracheal intubation was performed, as well as external cardiac massage. Victim is currently unresponsive and appears to be comatose. The child's vital signs are taken, blood samples drawn, IV fluids administered. A few minutes go by, but the girl remains blue. All Rosalinda can do is stare. The girl looks exactly like she had at that age. Cardiac arrest, IV, push 2 cc's. She even has on the very same Superman swimsuit Rosalinda had worn as a little girl. Despite her mother's protest that Superman was for boys, because they did not sell Superman swimsuits for girls, she had had to make her own. Defibrillate. Paddles are applied to the girl's chest. Shock her. Clear. Had the girl done the same? Time of death, announces the attending, 1:27 p.m. The girl's body is wheeled away. The physicians and nurses return to their departments. Rosalinda stands alone. The swimsuit lays on the floor. After her shift, Rosalinda drives out to Land Between the Lakes. The sun had set hours ago, and she walks to the forested promontory of oak, maple, and aspen in moonlight. After a while, she gets to the first lake, Ladybug Lake, and sits down on a piece of limestone. On the other side of the promontory is Crooked Lake. In the distance, she can hear elk, moose, and white-tailed deer feeding. An owl hoots. Brown bats swoop and dart. 3 lightning bugs congregate in front of her. At the end of fourth grade, her class had taken a field trip to the University of Michigan's Museum of Art. It had been her first trip to an art museum, and she had not wanted to go. In front of them, on the main wall, was Paris Street, rainy day. On the right, pastel-colored riverbank, 17th century gardens, and half-open irises. On the left, women napping, women stitching, women doing laundry. Then the men reading, men lunching, men with their faces in their hands. She had put her own face in her hands. She did not care for Renoir, Manet, or Monet, despite how enthusiastically her teacher talked about them. When her teachers began to discuss the next painting, Rosalinda left the room to find a drinking fountain. She wandered through the galleries looking for one, then paused at a painting on a blue wall. It was a tall painting, about 3 feet by 7 feet, of a glorious Spanish dancer. Around her flared heaps and heaps of embroidered white fabric. Behind her right ear was a flower. At her feet, some of its petals. Natalia Gokorova, a Russian-born French citizen, was the painter. The exhibition card said that she had used the Spanish dancer as a frequent theme for her paintings. Sergei Diaghilev, the famous Russian dance impresario with whom she had often worked, had even conceived a production on the same thing. How sad, she thought. It could have been such a beautiful ballet. She sat down in front of the painting and continued looking at it, struck not by its texture, technique, or composition, but a feeling of possibility. After school, she began to paint. She didn't have many colors to work with, just white paint left over from her mother's living room and copper paint that her father had used on their furnace. Despite her limited palette, when the paint was put on cardboard, the colors changed. They changed from white and copper to bright blues, greens, yellows, reds, oranges, and purples. With more colors to pick from, there in that small attic, she began to paint some of what she had seen, some of what she had experienced. After 3 hours, she climbed down to join her family for dinner. She left the paintings to dry. "Your father," her mother said to her in Spanish, with 2 of her 3 brothers attempting to climb into her lap, "will be late tonight." Relieved, she took a sip of tamarindo water. So that is 102. I just stopped there. I just realized I may have messed up the pronunciation of the Russian-born French citizen who did actually paint an amazing painting called The Spanish Dancer, as well as the famous Russian. So I apologize for that. I probably should have practiced before making my tape. Anyway, the story goes on, and I don't want to give away the ending. So clearly art is one of the major themes in here. And well, anyway, like I said, I don't want to get into it too much. I think down the line, I'll need to figure out how to share an excerpt and talk about the piece without giving away the ending and things like that, some of the important parts. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit from The Spanish Dancer. And I'll probably make one more video from this collection, and then I will be moving forward with a new project. So anyway, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening.